And it's not a black man thing of hating our black women or any of that. That is a myth. That's something that's put out there by people that have had certain experiences by maybe some narrow-minded individuals. We love our sisters.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael, for your point of view. We appreciate it all the way from Ohio. We thank you for listening and being part of the program. We appreciate that. We're having a conversation about, the role of black women, and two young women here who are graduate students at Temple University are giving us their ideas, their thoughts about the movement, black women's contribution to the economy of this country and the social movement. We're going to have to go on a short break. When we come back, we'll have a conversation with Brother Fred Love. We'll be right back.
You probably heard it before, but one of the best ways to stay safe from COVID is by avoiding crowds. That's better. Also, when you're out in public, make sure you stay 6 feet away from strangers or people you don't live with. It's okay to say, "Can I have some space, please?"
Well, it's going to be a beautiful sunny day today, and we can expect much.
If you're going to have a get-together with friends and family, have it outside. And remember to keep those 6 feet of social distance. And last but not least, wear a mask that covers your nose and mouth with no gaps. They slow the spread of COVID or new forms of the virus called variants. And make sure you get your vaccine when it's your turn. We're all out here trying our best, and it's making a difference. We just got to keep it up. We can do this.
To learn more about slowing the spread, visit cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Just one more step. You got it.
You're doing great. This is the sound of a nationally ranked top rehabilitation hospital, home to the largest collection of robotics in the United States, where we continually exceed patient expectations. Because no injury is too severe or too minor for our care.
There you go.
This is the sound of success. Moss Rehab. Challenge accepted.
Are you tired of eating the same thing day after day? Is ordering takeout starting to get a little old? If so, then give Premium Nutrition Meals a try. With Premium Nutrition Meals, you get to select new entrees each week from several different menus, all chef-crafted, freshly prepared, and delivered right to your door. Just go to PremiumNutritionMeals.com to order to earn rewards today. WURD listeners receive $10 off orders of 6 meals or more. Enter code PREMIUMWURD at checkout.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
We're back. It's the Dr. Emeka Show. Remember, effective next week, my show comes up only on Sundays from 4 to 5 p.m. The Dr. Emeka Show has been moved to Sundays at 4 o'clock, 4 to 5 p.m. If it is Sunday, 4 p.m., I'm on, God willing. We're having a conversation today. Our conversation today is to round up the Women History Month, and we are particularly having a conversation with two individuals, two black young women who've made tremendous contributions to social movements. The names are Vida Cottom and Sayana Kova. The role of black women. Let's talk about. We have a call from. Let's see here. Brother Fred Love. Welcome to the show.
God bless, Dr. Emeka.
God bless.
How you making out, family?
Okay.
All right, give thanks. And God bless to the young ladies on the show. How y'all making out?
Good. Thanks for asking. Yourself?
Okay, give God the glory every time. God bless our brother Mike on the boards, always doing an amazing job. And all the WURD family. Everyone that's suffering right now, our hearts are with them, especially everyone incarcerated and incarcerated falsely, free Mumia, and everyone working to make it better. May we do, help them do a good job at that. And Dr. Emeka, if it's all right, I just want to offer a couple of points from my own personal feelings for the conversation regarding what we all refer to in a lot of ways as jungle fever. You with it?
Jungle fever. What is that?
Dr. Emeka, how long have you been in the United States? You don't know nothing about jungle fever? Everybody know about it, Dr. Emeka. Come on now, man. I don't mean no offense, but come on. All right. if we listen to the work of our great esteemed elder Joel Augustus Rogers, J.A. Rogers, he writes on how for at least centuries, if not millennia, we as black people been mixing with quote-unquote white people, you know what I mean? Even in the royal bloodlines of Europe. So, you know, there's a historical context there. And if we look in the scripture, we see parts where, for example, you got Timothy, whose mother was a Jewess, but his father was Greek. But he was brought into, you know what I mean, what our people are doing to help uplift ourselves and liberate people from the suffering. But we also have in Nehemiah, with those of us who are Jah people, black people, who married outside of Jah people, and it was a great sorrow and a repentance to the point where they put away the strange wives they married. And there's other parts in the Bible that talk with Jah says we Jah people don't marry outside of Jah people.
So
hold on, wait a minute. Don't give our daughters to their sons.
That's right.
And don't give our sons to their daughter. You know what I mean?
So what's your conclusion, Spread Love?
I don't got a conclusion, Dr. Mecca, because I ain't create this thing. I leave that in Jah hands. But what I will say is this, my own personal sentiment. For people, I feel it's a matter of loyalty. Black is sacred, so we will want each other to view it as that manner. Like Tupac said once when they interviewed him, how we going to have mixed families? We ain't even hardly got black families. And it's not a judgment call. It's just expressing some of the sentiment that we may feel. As far as Black Lives Matter, I was made aware years ago. That was started by two young brothers who they found in their car with 2 bullets in the back of their head and their cars on fire, both of them, different cities. And they labeled that suicide. So can y'all talk to some of that? Because I see them giving kudos to these young ladies as being the founders of it, but don't nobody talk about them 2 young brothers. More love.
Appreciate that. Thanks a lot, brother Spread Love. Appreciate the call. We're gonna go to Germany. There's a guy called Rick from Germany on line 1. Rick from Germany, welcome to the show.
How you doing, Dr. Mecca? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
First of all, let me say black women were responsible for my education from the age of 3 to the age of about 16. I was giving my mother hell as a teenager, and yet black women were fighting for my soul as a young boy.
I see.
At the same time, they made me understand that slave history had no bearing on human history.
Yeah? What do you mean?
I mean that you don't hold the whole race of white people responsible for what a few men of wealth decided to set up.
Okay.
I married a white woman here in Germany. A white woman pulled me out of a homeless shelter there in Washington, D.C. almost 30 years ago.
Okay.
So I'm thankful to God for my wife.
Okay. Thank you, Rick, for your call. Appreciate it. Vida Kocham, you have a comment, a question? We have a comment, and also Sayona Kofa. Do any of you have a comment about what Rick just said and what Spread Love said?
So regarding Rick's comment as far as, slave history really not anything on human history, and I understand, he's in an interracial marriage, but what about when the people in the system benefit from that history? Of course, you're not going to take blame for something that you felt as though you had no say in or no actions were taken on your behalf. But if you benefit from that system, does it still not benefit on human history in general?
Good question. Kofi, do you have a comment, Sayona?
No, I agree with what Vida just said. I don't have any further comments on the situation. I think that it's important to not ignore the history of of interracial dating, but it's also important that in order to move forward in life with that type of history, we need to also remember, like, a lot of these men and women fell in love outside of the ethnicities. And it was just society that made it extremely hard for them, especially white society that made it extremely hard for them because they saw Black men and women as less than.
Right.
And
so we need to rewrite, well, not rewrite, but start creating a new chapter that moving forward that's more accepting, and that when we are in, Black women, Black men, we are in interracial relationships, it is important that we understand the ethnicities of who we're dating. Because that's very important, because you cannot just date and say love is enough in any relationship, but especially in interracial relationships, because it takes understanding of the other person's culture, deciding whether what to accept and what not to accept, especially when it comes down to your children, how you're going to raise your children.
That's a critical one.
Yes, it's very critical, and especially when it comes to when you have mixed race kids and their hair, and how you're dealing with the hair, because if they are Black, if they're half Black, hair is still an essential part of being Black, whether it's being a Black man or a Black woman.
And in this country, though, if you 1/16 of a Black blood makes you Black, and you talk about the hair issue, that's a very critical one. And Vida, you wanted to say something in addition to what Sayana is saying.
It goes back to so even how you have to look at everything in its historical context. Fred even mentioned the jungle fever, which in itself is, a racial connotation, jungle fever. So, yeah, you have to look at things in their historical context. And I think once you teach the history and your acceptance of the history, it will make it easier for people to move forward. Even as far as interracial relationships, like Sayana said, important. Sometimes, love is enough, but you do have to understand historically what it is, the background and the weight that your children carry with them generational. There's generational trauma for everyone, particularly Black people, biracial people. That generational trauma is carried throughout the generations. So as long as you're able to sit there and be truthful about it and honest about it and open and willing to learn, I think it's very important and move it forward.
Generational trauma. Can you explain if you just joined us, by the way, we're having a conversation with two graduate students at Temple University, Ms. Kofa and Ms. Cotton, with us today to share their experiences. They are young women who've made contributions in terms of social movements. They're on the vanguard of social movement current. And our number here is 215-634-8065. It's 215-634-8065. And we also can be seen on YouTube and Instagram. We're available there. You can see us and hear us also. You talk about generational trauma. Can you explain to the audience what you are alluding to when you use those two terms?
Alluded to when the first caller mentioned, the historical rate of Black women versus Black men not even being able to look or even whistle at a white woman. That trauma that was even for biracial children, the people who were products of those rapes, and just this feeling of in betweenness, it gets carried down throughout the generations. This, I'm not Black enough, I'm not white, and I just feel like it's something that it needs to be. It's its own topic itself. It's this whole generational trauma and this label that's put on people. Sometimes it's I have to date a Black man so that my children will be Black, so that they know they're standing. And then some people, they're raised in this notion where they feel as though their color really didn't matter. They were raised in a white family. They have white children or children who are perceived to be white. So it is. There's generational trauma, all that carry it all throughout both sides.
If you just joined us again, this is the Dr. Emeka Show. In today's edition, we're having a conversation with two young black women, talk about relationship issues, the black women and their contributions to social movements, historical, and of course the recent or the current Black Lives Matter and the Me Too thing. Let's talk about hair, aesthetics, the black hair. What is it that people talk about this black hair thing? Kofa?
So the black hair, if we're talking historical roots, has been very impactful to black women and black men essentially. During the slavery times, sometimes black women used their hair to hide food in, so as they were trying to escape to the north, or use their hair to the braiding patterns to have the different roots of from mats and stuff to again escape slavery and stuff like that. And
did you say they used their hair to hide food?
Yes, there was a specific braiding pattern how they could hide like grains of rice in there and braid it in the plait.
Okay.
It's remarkable, yes. And also it's like referencing to the Rastafarian, how with the locks, their dreadlocks, how much it means to them and how they feel like it's connected to their soul. So essentially it's never just hair when it comes to black people. It's never just hair. It's deeply, for some people, they feel like they have their own individual preferences. It's like, oh yeah, it's my hair, I can do whatever. That is completely true. But as black people as a whole, it's never just significantly just hair, because you still have, black people who are living true and being true to themselves with their hair, and they're being reprimanded for it. You have black little girls who are going to school with individuals, and their individuals are being cut off by teachers and staff at the school because it is seen as unprofessional. There was a story about a multiracial wrestler. His name was, his name was Alan Maloney, and the referee, the white referee, made him cut off his dreads. It was either he cut off his dreadlocks or he could not finish his competition because it was seen as it violated the conduct of of the sport.
Proper dress,
and
right.
He wasn't allowed to just tie it up or anything like what some white wrestlers who used to wrestle in the past have said, yeah, I didn't have to cut my hair, I could just tie it up. But he was forcibly made to cut his dreads, and that was all recorded. So, it just goes further into it. Like, if it was just hair, why aren't black people allowed to just wear their hair however they want? Why is a certain hairstyle seen as unprofessional? Why are certain things made more acceptable depending on what type of hairstyle you have? And why are you treated differently depending on how you determine to showcase your hair?
Yeah. Hair and the black women or black people and hair. Kofa is telling us it's not just hair, it's more than that. It's an expression, so to say. Vida, you have a comment about this hair thing?
Yeah, to lead off of what Faisal was saying, I think hair, generally speaking, is political no matter what your cultural background. There are Buddhist monks who shave their head. There are different ethnicities and tribes on the continent and the motherland. People wear their hair differently. So hair has also been, a very political and cultural-based thing. But what makes it so significant for black women in this country is because, when we discuss slavery, talk about how we were robbed of our background. We were robbed of patterns, certain ways we did our hair. Some black women's heads were even shaved, in order to. So even growing your hair and cornrowing your hair and braiding your hair, they were all this political notion of this is me, this is who I am. I will not let you keeping your hair in some instances was a sign of political expression, even down until today. You know, in 2021, we're still discussing this Crown Act, which who aren't familiar, basically to ensure protection against discrimination based on race-based hairstyles. You know, Sayana mentioned the young wrestler whose dreadlocks were cut, and he was a child. He was a high school student. So the discrimination is throughout. It's education, it's in professions, it's in academia. So to see that, you know, like Sayana is saying, you know, people are saying it's just hair, but it's something so political that there has to be acts passed now to make sure that you don't discriminate on Black women in particular, because there's so many patterns, ways in which we use our hair, because it's always been that sign of a political resistance, whether it be afros, whether it be conking, jerry curls, or braids, or dreadlocks, you know, wigs, extensions, all of these things have spoken to our experiences, you know, the way we transcend boundaries, and it's very important.
We are having a conversation with Vida Cottom and Sayana Kofa. They are both two graduate students at Temple University, two very brilliant graduate students at Temple University, talking to us about issues that has to do with, you know, Black women in general, the role of Black women in social movements, current social movements, the Black Lives Matter, and the Me Too generation. We're also talking about psychology of and the politics of Black hair. And we have two calls here. The first call, another call comes to us from Jerry from Philadelphia. Jerry, welcome to the show.
Oh, good afternoon, Dr. Mecca. And could you repeat the names of your guests?
Vida Cottom and Sayana Kofa.
Kofa. How do you spell the last name?
And Cottom.
It's spelled Kofa.
Okay. That's Vida, right?
Yeah.
Vida, the other person is Vida, Veda, Cottom, Cottom.
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
Do you have a comment or question for them?
I have a comment. When I heard you were talking about the interracial relationships, but it had you know, with Blacks and whites in particular. But I was just wondering if you guys have really discussed interracial relationships when it comes to the history of the free Negro. Like, for instance, Ira Berlin, he's a professor from the University of Maryland. He wrote a book called Slaves Without Masters. There's another professor, he was the head of the sociology department of Howard University for 25 years. His name was Edward Franklin Frazier. And they're like experts on the history of the free Negro. And there's like 5 ways of creating the free Negro. And two ways, well, one way in particular was when a white woman had a Negro baby. It was never a slave. It was born free. So you have like a whole class of Blacks that were never enslaved, but they had the white woman created like a biracial class.
Okay, so what's your question, Jerry? What are you headed to? As you said,
what do they say about Blacks? First of all, Barack Obama, his mother's white. What do they say about Blacks that emanate from a white woman being pregnant by a Black man?
Okay. Thank you for your call. Appreciate that, Jerry. Okay. We're going to go to these two experts here. Vida Cotton, you want to take that question and also Kofa?
So, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sayana.
No, I was going to say, before you guys finish, we're going to go to Shango after that. Go ahead, Vida.
Okay. So yeah, that you know, he brings up the point of white women who had babies by Negroes. It even goes back to the Jean de Collet-Libres, and when we speak of New Orleans and the slave masters who had babies by these, their slaves weren't considered slaves. They had babies by free black women. I think what happens, it has a lot to do with power structure and where you're viewed in terms of society. So what happens is those children aren't viewed as slaves, but they're still viewed as black children. So, that's Barack Obama, he was still viewed as somebody who belongs to a black race. So sometimes it even transcends this whole notion, once we reach a history point where, slavery is no longer slavery in its in the sense of chattel slavery. But I just think it speaks to the dynamics of where black women and white women stand in the social hierarchy of this society.
Peter, we have to go on a short break. I've been told now we have to go on a short break. When we come back, you continue with the conversation about this white women, black men kind of a thing. Let's go on a short break. We'll be back in 1 minute, and then we'll go to Shango after that.
Did you hear the word around the community? HPP and HPF's very own Stacey Scott will be reporting live from WURD, 96.1 FM and 900 AM each and every fourth Sunday of the month from 5 p.m. until 6 p.m. Be sure to spread the word and tune in. Want to call in and be a part of the community party? Email Stacey Scott at scott@hpplans.com. Again, that is scott@hpplans.com.
If you haven't had the privilege to use ACAP's products, treat yourself. We made it easy for you to shop for good quality essential products with the help of local businesses such as cultural stores, convenience stores, gas stations, and local supermarkets. ACAP's, servicing the community since 1969.
WURD Radio Digital Tip of the Week with Stephanie Humphrey.
I'm your Tech Life expert, Stephanie Humphrey, and this is your WURD Digital Tip of the Week. With over 750 million users, LinkedIn is the world's largest professional social network. Whether you're looking for a job, trying to find paying customers for your business, or just looking to expand your network, LinkedIn is the place to do it. Here are a few tips to make the most of the platform. It might sound simple, but make sure your profile has a picture. You'll get 20 times more engagement than if you leave it out. Try to include keywords relevant to your industry in your profile info, and make sure you customize your connection requests before you send them. Get more career tips right here on WURD and stay connected with us at WURDradio.com.
The WURD Digital Tip of the Week is brought to you by Comcast NBC Universal. You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
And we are back. It's the Dr. Emeka Show. Don't forget, effective next week, our show will come on Sundays from the hours of 4 to 5. The Dr. Emeka Show has been moved. It's now Sundays, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Join us then. We are going to go to Shango. Shango is next in the line here. Shango, welcome to the show.
Hey, hold tight, brother. Emeka.
Hold tight.
Hold tight for your guest. Listen, you're speaking about a situation. Let me just quote Neely Fuller. To wrote the codes. And she began to talk about, if you don't understand the system of white supremacy, everything you think you understand will confuse you. In all areas of life, in the system of white supremacy is control. And relationships are controlled by white supremacy. And I'll show you a glaring example of that with this whole socialization of the media encouraging this whole thing of interracial relationships. It's socially engineered. You can't find a commercial with a brother and a sister together. It's always the white boy and the sister, constantly. That's social engineering.
Does that bother you?
Because
Shango, it bothers you.
You're damn straight. You're damn straight about it. It bothers me for this reason, because it's being engineered. We're trying to build African families that were destroyed and continues to be destroyed. We're trying to build African families. Only Africans can build a family. African man and African woman. Anything else is not African. So we're trying to build these families That's where our power and our strength is. It's not no single African woman running the family or a single African man running the family. It's those two together. That's how we survived. That's how we survived slavery. And this whole notion that burns me up in terms of, oh, it was just love and romance during slavery. That's women. In slave narratives, when they interviewed women about their treatment on the plantation, everyone wouldn't even talk about it. And the ones that did said we cried when a little child was born because they would rip that girl apart before she even had a menstrual cycle on. This is what happened on these plantations. And seeing men, their mothers being raped from them, and seeing their grandmothers being raped from them, their own daughters being butchered. Hell no, we're angry about that. That still exists. That still exists, but another way. When you run into African men out of the family, all kinds of ways with mass slave incarceration that you have now, of course the women are going to be single. Of course that, because it's contrived by the society. So there's not this whole feeling of, oh, we just, people, I don't see color. People under war in every part of the planet, including Mother Africa. You don't understand what's going on with that?
Okay.
You just deny your own history.
Thank you for your call, Shingo. We got you. Thank you so much for your call, Shingo. Appreciate that. We are coming to the end of the show here. We've been talking about so many things here. We really don't have enough time to discuss all this. And with these two young black women talking about, the black women and their, contributions to the social movements, Black Lives Matter and the Me Too thing. We talked about the hair, the politics of hair, and also relationships. And Shango obviously is against interracial relationships. Freedom of expression, obviously. In closing, Ms. Vida Cotton and Ms. Sayano Kova, can you close for us in terms of the future of the role of black women in social movements, in relationships, and other matters? In closing. Vida.
I think there's a long way to still go for us as black women. I am very excited as to all the opportunities that are being presented. We have so much that, as far as I have the first black president, first woman black president, or young women who are taking initiative. They're getting into roles that were once denied them. So I'm excited about the new generation of women that are coming up, that are using their gender and racial experiences to define new movements in society, to redefine the power structures. These people are actually redefining power structures, even, pop stars, actors, actresses, lawyers, politicians, doctors. They're redefining, they're using their own stories to redefine the power structures of the movement.
Thank you.
I look forward to.
Great, including social workers, by the way. You forgot that profession. Yeah. Kofa, Ms. Kofa?
Yes, I completely agree with what Via's closing statements are. My hopes for the generation of black people in general is high, because I see we're breaking the generational curses and moving forward. So some of the things that were built and instilled in us, we're realizing as we're growing up and realizing that they were not, even though they were what we had, they weren't what was necessarily the best for us. And so in growing and realizing and seeking help, because therapy is very important. So there are more black people seeking out professional help to help to help them understand their childhood trauma.
Sayana Kofa, Vida Cotton, thank you. Thank you, young ladies, for taking time to be with us today. We do appreciate that.
Thank you for having us, Dr. Thank you.
Thank you, and keep up the good work. Keep up the good work in the community. We thank you for taking time to be with us today. And that has been a conversation between us and two African-American women, their contributions to the future of this country, young women. Black Lives Matter, Me Too, the hair thing, and relationship issues. This is another issue we're going to be visiting at some point in time. Until next Sunday at 4 p.m. when I will be with you again, I want to say thank you for being part of our conversation again. And we'll see you again. You take care of yourself. And Brother Mike, the boss man, thank you for being the great engineer you've always been. I'll see you next week, Sunday at 4. Peace and love. And if you see someone without compassion, please give him or her one of yours, because it's the right thing to do. Take good care now. Bye-bye.